Hi, I'm David Ferreira, City Council, Ward 13, City of London. And today we're going to be speaking with Julian from the First Hussars Museum at 1 Dundas, and he's going to be telling us about our holy roller that we have in Victoria Park.
Yeah, so Holy Roller, it may seem like a very standard tank. It was built in Flint, Michigan in 1942 at a big tank factory there, and it was given to the regiment a few days before D-Day on June 6, 1944, as they were in England preparing for D-Day. And it served with the regiment through World War II. And all that sounds pretty standard, but not a lot of people know this. This is actually one of only 2 tanks in the world to survive from D-Day all the way to the end of the war. And there was a number of tanks that the regiment used, of course, hundreds of tanks that the regiment used, and a lot of them were knocked out. They would just move on to a new tank. Holy Roller was lucky enough that it never suffered any damage that was permanent and unrepairable, and so it made it all the way through. And the other tank that actually made it all the way through is Bomb from the Sherbrooke Fusiliers. They're a Quebec regiment, and it's also a memorial in Sherbrooke, Quebec. And the interesting thing is that Holy Roller's War Department number is 152655, and Bomb's number is 152656. So it's only one number away. So that means they were right beside each other in the British depot when they were sent from the U.S. to England.
Cool. So what I understand is Holy Roller was not the original name for the tank. I was wondering if you could give us the history on that.
Yeah, so Major Frank White, tank's commander, picked the name Hairless Joe. Every headquarters tank has an H name, and so he picked Hairless Joe, which was a character from a little Abner comic strip, which was, he was like this moonshiner, and his moonshine could take the rivets off of battleships. Funny character and funny name, but the tank's driver decided that's not really an appropriate name for a tank that will be going into battle, into liberating occupied France, so he decided on the name Holy Roller instead.
Oh, great. That's pretty cool too. I did not know that. So I also understand that there was some damage to the tank at some point in its time overseas. I was wondering if you could let us know on the history on that.
So in April 1945, it was hit on the left rear side down near the suspension, and the suspension actually had to be replaced, or at least part of the suspension had to be replaced. So that would normally be an excuse just to get rid of the tank, but because it had survived so long, they decided, this is our tank, we need to repair it, and so they repaired it, and Holy Roller made it back to Canada and came back to Canada in 1946 and was put into Queen's Park near Western Fair in 1949, and then put into Victoria Park in 1956 and has remained there ever since.
Yeah, so the journey was a lot longer after the war, traveling its way and making its way here to Victoria Park. And I also understand that we recently upgraded or restored this tank in 2021 and 2022. Fanshawe College and the students there did a lot of work on that.
So in 2019, someone had tried to break into the back of the tank. They did some damage at the back here. And we actually have a couple pieces of the rusty hull that was fallen off of here. And in that time, they decided to take a look inside and see, what was its condition. And very poor. It was very rusty. And so they did a fundraising committee. Toboggan Brewery sold beers to support it. And they raised enough funds to bring it to Fanshawe College in 2021. It was worked on there from 2021 until 2022 and brought back in the park. They did a great job. It looks beautiful now, and the tank will stay here for as long as possible.
Fanshawe did do a great job, and from what I understand, there was some artifacts that were left in this tank during the war that Fanshawe students did find. I was wondering if you could let us know about those.
Yeah, so there was this coin that was a keepsake of one of the soldiers, and it was a historic British coin from 1797. It was a 2-pence coin, and actually 1797 was the first year that the 2-pence was issued because of currency inflation. And it was kept as a keepsake. Tank crewman dropped it, and much like dropping a coin in your car, rolls away, you never see it again. Same situation. So that coin was sitting in this tank from 1944 until 2022.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Julian, you are bringing a huge bunch of wealth of knowledge here when it comes to the Holy Roller and it comes to the history of the city. I appreciate you coming out and telling us what's going on in the tank. And I would say that you can go to the First Hussars Museum at 1 Dundas. They have information and more documentation on the Holy Roller and anything else to do with London and its history. So please come and visit at 1 Dundas, the First Hussars. Thank you so much, Julian, and thank you for letting us know what's going on.
Yeah.